Mr. Ramaphosa, let's have a little chat, shall we? We are identifying your little tactics here, where when it's convenient or it's becoming inconvenient for the ANC due to their incompetence or due to their corruption or breakdown of facilities and infrastructure, for example, ESCOM or SAA, what you tend to do is you play the race card, or you pull out the keyword apartheid rather. Key little words, little trigger words to get people worked up and to remind them of this white privilege, the Bell Pottinger narrative that was introduced, marketed into the country, a British company that was employed by, procured by Mr. Zuma, and it continues today. So we know that you play on this narrative, appealing to the ignorant, potentially racist, vulnerable and gullible people of South Africa that you use at opportune times when things are going a little bit tough for the ANC, when they're getting a little bit of exposure for their misdeeds, their corruption that is filtering all the way up to the top, isn't it? I mean, Mr. Magashule, anybody who's now caught being corrupt or doing anything untoward in terms of crime or corruption or misappropriation of funds, you protect them, don't you? You gather around yourselves and then you throw out a word, apartheid, which is your little trigger word that you use to then capture and get people worked up again, that are pretty much ignorant and gullible and naive, and they buy into it because you are the government and therefore what you say must be so. So what you tend to do is you deflect the responsibility, you deflect the accountability and the focus onto another base group, typical standards used and endorsed by Mr. Jacob Zuma through the Bell Pottinger exercise, which we know was a British company that he employed. He contracted to start this narrative of hating white people. And it's worked very, very effectively. So well done to Mr. Zuma, and well done to Bell Pottinger. Well done to yourself for carrying it on. Because, of course, we've got a population of people, 9% of the population, that must be shut down through BEE policies, which are apartheid, by the way. They are apartheid policies, segregating a group of people and administrating some form of punishment. They are not equal rights citizens of South Africa. They're white. Therefore, they must be suppressed and they must be boiled slowly over 26 years. Okay, boiled slowly so that they don't react and they don't rebel and fight. Right? In the meantime, you remain quiet about farm murders. They don't happen. They're not happening at all, are they, Mr. Ramaphosa? So, quite frankly, so we are seeing, and the international body is starting to see exactly what you're doing, and we still hold you accountable. We hold your party accountable for what is happening. And we are challenging you on the Bell Pottinger agreements and assignments that have been established within South Africa. We hold you accountable now in terms of you carrying on that narrative and misleading the youth of this nation, causing them to uprise and to hate white people. You're at fault for that. You are endorsing apartheid. You have simply replaced the narrative of net vir blank, benches and toilets and streets for net vir swart, desktops, management positions and hierarchy in the nation, whilst you suppress the white populace. So explain to me, sir, why the white populace, if you're not prepared to protect them, if you're not prepared to give them equal rights, why must they pay taxes? Quite frankly, as Act International, we feel that it is within their rights to not pay taxes to a nation that doesn't want them, that isn't prepared to protect them, is not prepared to acknowledge them. It is racist. and you are a racist, and you are endorsing racism, and you sit quietly behind the scenes whilst EFF, your militant arm, goes out to do the damage and stir up the strife. Then you throw in the ANC to go and support them because you want to occupy certain territories. But you don't want to look like the person that's handling this or endorsing this, do you? I mean, you want to pretend that you're not part of the EAF plan. We know. We can see it. We're not done. And I think people have had enough. And quite frankly, I support any populace of people, any ethnic group in South Africa that does not feel or is not receiving the best from this government in power. You are not supporting many people, the colored people, Indian people, foreign nationals in this country, and you are causing this to boil up without any resolution, without any accountability. And we're saying stop. We're saying to you, stop, sir. Stop this nonsense. Stop this nonsense. Stop this lack of accountability and responsibility. That every time it gets a little bit too hot for the ANC, they bring up the word apartheid to start to churn up, which is trigger words that you're using on your people, on a really charged people, right? People, some of them very ignorant, some of them believe you, some of them that are even fence-sitting or don't hate people. You use that to charge them up, to remind them. But let me just tell you something right now. The TRC Convention, Truth and Reconciliation Convention, put a stop, drew a line in the sand with apartheid. You cannot and you will not hold white people now accountable for the ineptness and the incompetence and the failures of the ANC. We will not carry your blame. Our people will not carry your blame. And we are South Africans. We are South Africans. And we're not going to play your game. And we're not going to feel guilty anymore. We're not going to feel ostracized. And we're not going to feel that we have to pay for your faults and your mistakes of your party that are completely in collusion with the EFF and other parties, to make sure that you stay in power and you coordinate this thing where other people pay the price for your misdeeds and the foolishness of the ANC. So stop. You either protect the people, all people of South Africa. You protect them all, whites included. They are South Africans. If you're not prepared to do that, then they shouldn't have to pay taxes towards the country, because what's it for? Why? Why should they? To what? They're not going to get the protection and the services. They're going to have racist police, not serve their cases. What are we going to do about it? Why should they? And if you're not going to protect the farmers, if you're not going to protect their stock, if you're not going to investigate all the collusion of police at certain levels within the country that are involved in cattle hustling and all of that stuff, rustling, hustling, however you want to call it, you are accountable for that. And the ANC, we see you. We see all of you. EFF, we see you. We see what your plan is. We see what your plan is to incite and to stir up trouble and to propagate this hatred and incitement. And you're recruiting people. You're recruiting people into your hate streams to take over, to dominate, to dictate, to destroy. And you will not only destroy your own country, you will destroy the SADC. You are going to break the SADC, and whoever you're in collusion with is helping you to do that. So I suggest that you start to take responsibility and proper action. Otherwise, you're all going to be destroyed by your very selves. No one else, not the white man, yourselves. You are destroying you. And anybody who's listening to you, anybody who is hearing what you're saying, is believing what you're saying, is quite a fool, because then they're not using their brain and they're not seeing the tactics. You take advantage of the vulnerable. You take advantage of the uneducated. You take advantage of the foolish to continue your own narrative and your own agenda. And for that, you will destroy the country and you'll destroy the SADC. It won't happen, and it shall not happen. And it's time for everybody in South Africa to wake up, including you black people out there. We ask you to use your brains. You're the future. Don't allow these people to trigger you into doing things that will destroy your own future. We ask this, please. Consider this with all sincerity and all severity. Thank you.